Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Another series down the drain. Round 2 in the Eastern Conference has officially been over. And we just did the other series recap video. Now we're doing the Boston-Columbus series recap. And I think you were a little disappointed in the outcome of this series. I know I was. I was really hoping that Columbus would beat Boston. For two reasons. Number one, I don't really like Boston that much. And the other reason is Columbus was on a pretty good run, and they were a really good story. So
a really good story.
Although it was very good hockey, it was probably one of the series that I enjoyed watching the most. I don't think I missed a second of this entire series. I have absolute tremendous respect for Boston, for the kind of team that they are, the resilience that they've shown. For so many other reasons, they are very scary, and I hate to say that, but they are. And, I mean, a lot of positive things can be said about Columbus as well, even though they lost. I mean, look at the strides that they've made.
Oh, tremendous.
Just in the past 2 months. Now, unfortunately, some of those strides, like Panarin and Bobrovsky and Duchesne and some other ones, might not even be there next year. So all those strides may be for nothing, unfortunately. But at least they took the risk, and at least they gave it a shot, and a pretty damn good shot, too. So
Kekalainen went all in.
Yep.
Money and assets to try to build, really at the last minute, a team that could go on a serious run. And they really did. This was a serious team that could easily have turned the tide in the Boston series.
Absolutely.
They won 2 of those games. They could have won 2 more.
Absolutely. Those were close games.
Very close. And Bobrovsky was, for the most part, exceptional. Boston really had to work hard to get anything by him.
He was pretty good. He did let in some soft goals, more so late in the series than early in the series. And also, it wasn't just about hockey in the series. I felt like there were some controversial goals on both sides. Mm-hmm. So that really was a bit of a Band-Aid on this series, I felt like. So it's a bit unfortunate, but, I mean, you're going to get that in some series. At least there were the 2 main controversial things. One was on one side and one was on the other side, so it wasn't weighted in any certain way.
And these controversies, given enough time, they work their way around each other. They average out. So no point getting all upset about things like the puck that hit the net.
That was one, yeah.
There was one, and it ended up being a Columbus goal. At the end of the day, Boston ended up winning the series. If you believe in the hockey gods, they fixed that.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I guess we haven't really discussed the McAvoy.
We haven't.
And I don't even think we've discussed it off camera.
We have not.
And usually we try not to discuss things off camera because we want to
have a more spontaneous
whatever conversation we do have, we want it to be genuine on camera. So what was your thoughts on that specific hit? And now that we know the outcome, which is 1 game suspension, do you think that was justified or should be more? I
think the 1 game suspension is probably justified, but it doesn't do Columbus any good.
It does not, because the Boston suffers against a different team.
Well, exactly. And to me, that's the most unfairest part of all of this. The league stepped in and said, okay, that's not on. I saw, from the moment I saw it live and the multiple replays I saw from different angles, I never saw it any different.
Yeah, same.
I'm not thinking McAvoy intended to injure.
I don't think he did. I really don't.
I think, Anderson was it was a hockey play. At least it was a hockey play. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Marchand winging someone in the back of the head after the whistle.
Exactly.
This was a real hockey play. McAvoy, he left his lane. That was Chara's guy. And when Anderson was coming in, he was Chara's man, and McAvoy came straight across and got him first. And then he bounced into Chara. You can't blame Chara for that. So now they had a nice moment in the handshake line afterwards, which I was really happy to see. Because Anderson, I think, had every reason to be not too magnanimous in the handshake line, but he really seemed to be genuine and really letting McAvoy off the hook a little bit. And I'm sure McAvoy was saying, look, I didn't mean to hurt you.
Yeah,
I really didn't.
And I agree with that, and here's why. I think if that's a different player, if that's Panarin instead of Anderson, that hit doesn't happen. Because if you think about the players on Columbus, who lays the biggest body checks, who's probably the most physical. There's a couple names that float around, Dubinsky, but Anderson, you look at the amount of penalty minutes he had.
Yeah.
In the first 4 or 5 games, I think he had 22 penalty minutes. He's a guy that plays really physical, and so does McAvoy. So when he sees that big body coming in, he's going to play physical against him. if that's Panarin, he's likely not going to take that kind of hard-hitting intention against the players. He's just playing physical against a physical player. So I don't think he intended to hurt Anderson whatsoever.
But again, it's not, intent is maybe a little bit of the equation, but it's certainly not even the majority of the equation. It's the actual effect of the hit.
Totally.
Shoulder pad right into his jaw. And the jaw's part of the head last time I checked. That was a check to the head. I'm not sure it should have been a 5 because I know majors are controversial after the San Jose Vegas penalty.
And I think that's why they didn't call it.
I think you're right. I think that's why the referees were backing off. Like, oh my goodness, we don't want to have another one of these things.
It's a ripple effect.
It is the ripple effect. But they did call it 2, which is at least something. And then Columbus failed to score in the power play, even with a 2-minute penalty. So there you go.
And
Columbus didn't lock it.
It kind of just leads us back to, if it was a 5, then they could review it. And so, like, if they had the option to review it, then maybe they would have given him the 5 so they could look at it and make a decision. Like, then this is where the rule negotiations come into play over the summer and whatever. And that's a video for a whole nother time. But
it might not wait till the summer. I heard some commentary this morning on a Montreal sports radio talk show that the NHL is having conversations right now about round 3 and 4 about changing it up a little bit to try to inject more fairness and review into the game.
Wow, that actually really impresses me.
Me too.
From the NHL,
if it's true, it was speculation this morning. I don't know where that is right now and how locked down it might be.
Does the NHLPA have to be involved in those negotiations?
I would think that.
I would assume that they do because
they're involved in everything else.
Wouldn't that be part of the collective bargaining agreement?
I'm not sure.
Does the NHL have the authority to make last-minute rule changes?
I think it's risky. But they might. I honestly don't know the CBA very well.
I mean, why would the even if the NHLPA was involved, why would they decline that suggested rule
exactly.
change?
And there's also the NHLOA.
Yes.
And these are the people that the NHL is trying to protect a little bit and try to provide some defense for and some support for their officials.
Exactly.
So I think reasonable people sitting around a table can come up with something pretty quickly that will inject more fairness into the game, both ways.
And as far as fairness in the one game goes, Brian Burke said this on Sportsnet a couple of days ago. He used to actually, I believe, run the officiating association. So he helped mandate some of the rules, some of the guidelines, all this stuff. And he was talking about the general public doesn't understand that there's a difference between a one-game suspension in the playoffs and a one-game suspension in the regular season. For each round, it multiplies by a factor of a certain number. I don't know what he said, but so if it's a 6 to 10 game suspension in the regular season, that's basically one game in round 3. So that's why McAvoy only got one game.
Okay.
If it was in the regular season, it would have been 6 to 10. There was a hit back in the finals in 96, or was it 96? Maybe it was like 2002, 2003. Colorado played Detroit in the finals, and there was a hit. I think it was Claude Lemieux hit someone, and it would have been like 20 games in the regular season. He got 2 games in the finals.
So, I don't know if I like that.
I don't know if I like that either, but he was explaining that there's a factor. So that one game in the third round for McAvoy that's coming up might have been a 3-game suspension in round 1. It depends on the importance of the series and how far along they are in the playoffs. So, and that's completely subjective.
It totally is.
So I don't know if
I wouldn't vote for that system, but
I don't know if that's the right way to do it because you are taking you're taking a play that could potentially end someone's career, and you're saying it's less important in this situation because this game mattered more.
Does the value of my head change with the calendar? I don't think it should.
Exactly, and that's part of the problem. So, but I can see the argument of both sides. So, anyways.
I can see it, and McAvoy's an important piece in Boston. He's not the most important piece. They can cover for him. They've got lots of assets back there. And I think they can do without him for one game, and it'll be a home game where Boston would normally have a bit of an advantage over Carolina going into this series. So it's a bit of a penalty for the team. It's probably I don't know if it's monetary or not at this level because I don't think they actually get a daily stipend here They get bonuses and things for making certain rounds.
They get paid more per round they play in.
Yeah, so I don't know if that gets deducted for. It should, I hope.
I'm almost positive that it doesn't. If you get suspended in the playoffs, it's not on a because the players when they get paid during the season, it's on a per game basis.
Right.
That's why if Marchand's suspended for 7 games, he forfeits $86,000 or whatever. It's not like that in the playoffs, so they still get paid regardless. It's like I don't know if everyone gets paid the same or a percentage of what their salary is, but I'm almost positive, I'd almost bet money that they still get the exact same amount of money regardless if they get suspended or not in the playoffs. But I could be wrong.
We'll find out quick enough.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just back to this series a little bit.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you just one maybe final question. Do you think that Tortorella had a negative effect in this series versus the positive effect that he had in round 1?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because he's the same guy. Tortorella he's what you see is what you get. I think he probably coached the same way in both series. I think it's all about the opponent. It's all about the strength of the opponent you're playing. In the last game, even after the McAvoy hit when they had a penalty, they were only down 1-0 at that point. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, I think the end of the period separated that penalty into 2 pieces, and I hate when that happens if it's my team on the power play because I want to see the whole 2 minutes together and not have this whistle go just when I'm in the zone.
Yeah, you lose momentum.
You lose momentum, and then when you have the next face-off, it's at center ice.
Yeah.
20 minutes later.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it was 1-0 at the time of that hit, and Columbus could not capitalize and get a goal and get that game tied up. And then it ended up being a 3-0 game, I believe. And so Columbus just wasn't there. So I don't think Tortorella really made a huge difference in a negative way. I just think that he took the team as far as he could take them.
I don't think he changed much, but I think some of the comments he had after specifically the last 2 games. I guess the comments after the last game didn't count because they were out, but some comments after the game before that was under the table directed at some of his players, and it was a bit of a shot at some of his players. So I mean, those players hear that interview, and I think that might negatively affect them emotionally, specifically Bobrovsky, and who was not very good in that last game.
The comments I heard, now I might not have heard the whole interview, but he talked about how his players are great when they play. But he didn't single people out that I could understand.
I thought he said in that game, that 5th game, that it would have been nice if we got some important saves or something like that, or something along that line.
If he said that, I didn't hear that piece.
Yeah, so that was kind of an offhanded.
Yeah, that would be not good.
Comment towards Bobrovsky.
That would be not good.
I mean, Bobrovsky had a tough last game. He did make some big saves. He did play, I would. Decent. I think decent is the right word, but I mean, some of those goals, that second goal, was kind of soft. So I don't know. I mean, you need better goaltending than that. But
yeah,
Boston was just. I think the Boston was really consistent throughout the entire series. So I don't think that. I think the right team won as far as hard work and skill. So I'm not disappointed that Columbus lost per se, although I did want them to win. Sorry, Boston fans.
I did too, and for the same reasons as you. It's a great story. How far can Tortorella take the team? How far can Kekalainen take a team that he's built really suddenly? And they gelled nicely in that first round, really nicely. And I think if they stay together, they've got a really good future. They've shown their own fans now that they can win a playoff series, which they hadn't done before.
This is big news for the city of Columbus.
It's huge.
And I mean, going forward, it's a monkey off the back, totally a monkey off the back, and it's going to be a pretty good team, regardless of the people that leave. I mean, I think it's headed in the right direction. They're going to revamp themselves a little bit, and it's going to be a strong team. So it was an important year for Columbus to do what they did. I don't think they should be disappointed.
No, I think they outperformed expectations, and I think they've got a bright future ahead of them. I agree with you. And the 2 players that everyone's worried about leaving, Bobrovsky and Panarin, they weren't the key factors in the series that they won, really. They had a really distributed effort for the whole team. And if most of that nucleus of the team stays together, even without them, they're still a very competitive hockey club.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Do you have any words for Boston for the next series. We had some words for Carolina in the last video about them against Boston. Do you have anything to say about Boston towards Carolina and their series?
I guess the only thing, if I were in the room, I'd say take these guys seriously. Play this team. Don't think that you got lucky because they swept the Islanders and did your dirty work for you. These guys swept the Islanders.
Exactly.
And the Islanders swept the Penguins.
Yeah.
So this is a serious team, and you better go into the very first face-off with the intent that you're playing a team that's every bit as good as you, and you better play them hard.
I wouldn't have said that Columbus would sweep Tampa. I wouldn't have said that Carolina would sweep the Islanders. I wouldn't have said that the Islanders would sweep Pittsburgh. I'm going to say that there's no sweep in this series, but honestly, who freaking knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
There could be a sweep in this series.
If Carolina wins the first game, I think anything can happen after that.
Once they get that, if they win one of the 2 first games in Boston, that's going to be massive.
Huge.
Massive. It's going to be huge. It's going to be. It gives them home ice.
It does. And home ice in Carolina is gold.
It's crucial.
They're 5-1, 5-0. All 5 home games they played, they've won them. And I think any team going in there is in trouble.
So I would have probably said exactly what you said, actually. I'm glad you said it and gave me the idea. Take them seriously. Boston has to take Carolina seriously, and Carolina needs to realize that they're not playing the Islanders in this next round. Boston is a different offensive team than the Islanders, and that's going to be a real challenge for both teams. Honestly, I probably, if I was going to make a serious, legitimate prediction, I would say 6 or 7 games for this series. I don't see it ending in 4. I don't see it ending in 5. I would say at least 6 games.
And I think Carolina's going to win at least 1 game in Boston, and that means Boston has to win at least 1 game in Carolina.
That's right. Yeah.
That's going to be the hardest game they play in this series.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the whole playoffs, maybe.
In the whole playoffs, it may be. If Boston ends up hoisting the cup, they might look back at this upcoming series as the hardest test for them all the way through.
Well said. So, prediction?
Boston in 6.
Want?
Carolina in 4.
Want Carolina in 4. I agree with that. Prediction, Boston in 7. So I guess we both agree a little bit.
And my Boston in 6 prediction means that Game 6 where Boston would win would be in Carolina, and that's the home game they have to win.
Okay.
So that's where I'm going with that headspace there.
So you're predicting that they get up 3-2 with a win at home in Game 5.
Yep. And then bingo.
All right, sounds
Get her
good.
done.
All right, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hope you can hit the subscribe button down below and join us for future videos. The next video is going to be St. Louis versus Dallas series recap.
Woo!
So keep an eye out for that. We appreciate it, and we'll see you then. Adios.